This is the PFaroe Release video for PFaroe version 2.88, which was released over the weekend of the 30th of June and 1st of July 2018. We're also going to cover some features that were included in the May release. The first of these is projected liability valuations. We can see here within the liability alpha setup for a sample header that within the publish screen we now have the ability to publish liability valuations at a chosen future date. If we click here, we can select both the valuation date and the market conditions date for which we want to apply the assumptions to be run at that valuations date. For more information on the underlying methodology used for these projected valuations, please see the PFaroe Liability Alpha Guide, which has a new section included in this respect. Next up, we have made some further enhancements on the component var for insured liabilities. Previously, the liabilities part of this breakdown, as shown here, related to an aggregate of liabilities less insured liabilities. Now we can explicitly see those broken out in the chart. Also, from the May release, you'll note that we've got horizontal lines making it easier to distinguish whether risks are adding or reducing to the total net risk when component var is selected. In addition, in the May release, for reports that use the risk attribution charts, there is now a drop-down which enables users to choose which methodology, i.e. individual versus component, you want to use for those slides. The final item to cover, and the main component released in this June release of PFaroe, is that the ALM projections now fully include the allowance for insured assets. When we load up ALM here, we will now see the impact of this in both deterministic and stochastic ALM in several areas. Firstly, the assets now includes an insured liabilities drop down plus an insured liability discount rate output. Please note that market assets here equates to the asset value excluding the insured liabilities, not the asset value with them in addition. We also have under the returns an insured liability return component. There are several existing areas that have changed to reflect the insured assets, such as the funding level tab we can see here, the surplus deficit tab, and also the tracking error tab. In addition, the calculated contribution solver now takes into account the insured assets when working out the deficit at the end of each and every time period, as defined within the calculations contributions section here. So the deficit within each of the valuations selected in this section will now include the insured assets, as you'd expect. In addition, although not shown here, UK accounting P&L calcs will now take into account the interest cost of insured assets, i.e. that will reduce the liability interest cost. Please note that any additional calcs for US accounting functionality do not support insured assets. In addition, our liability adjustment factors now allow the user to select and scale their insured liability in the same way that the normal liabilities can be scaled. If this is selected and adjustments made in these boxes here, please note that the present value, the benefit payments, and in theory the service cost are all scaled off the back of this. Just one final word on the insured asset components. now introduced in ALM, please note that if before we introduced insured assets you've employed workarounds so that ALM has had a different asset allocation loaded up to include any insured assets compared to other modules, you would now need to reallocate your asset setups to take account that the insured assets are now explicitly included when they're run in the liability alpha setups alongside the liabilities. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions on any of the content covered, please contact us via support@riskfirst.com.